Alright guys, so we're going to go ahead and get started on our chat application. First thing we're going to do is set up Angular 2 using the quick start. Alright, so we have this git clone command right here. I'm going to paste that in my projects folder inside my command line. And let's make the name of this socket chat. Alright, and then we're going to cd into socket chat. And let's go ahead and run npm install, and we're also going to open that folder up in the editor here. Alright, so we should now be able to run npm start up the Angular 2 application. And let's go to localhost 3000, and there's our application. Alright, so what I want to do now is create our server. So in our root folder here, we're going to create a folder called server. And what I'm going to do is keep this going, this command line. I'm going to open up another one in the server folder. Alright, so actually let me just go to our project folder here, which is socket chat, and then server. I'm going to just git bash into that folder. Alright, and then what we'll do is run npm init, because we need to create a package.json file. It's going to ask us some questions. Let's say socket app server, and then the rest, say simple chat server, and just enter through those. Alright, so that's good. Now let's go to that package.json file, and we just want to add a couple dependencies here. Alright, so dependencies, and we need express latest version, and we're also going to need socket.io latest version. Alright, and that's it for dependencies, so we'll save that. Let's go back over here and go ahead and run npm install, and that'll install express and socket.io on the server side. Okay, now in that server folder, let's create a file called server.js. And we're going to create a variable called app, and we're going to set that to require express, and we're just going to use the express function. Alright, then we want a variable called http, because we want to use the http module for our server. So require http, and then we want to use .server, and then just pass in that app variable. Alright, and then for socket.io, we're going to create a variable called io, and then require socket.io, and we also want to pass in that HTTP module. Okay, so these all work together. And then let's see, we'll go down here and let's do HTTP dot listen, and we want to listen on, let's say, port 8000. Our Angular app is on port 3000, so we want this to be 8000. And then we're just going to use an arrow function here, and we'll just do a console log. Just like that. Alright, so we should be able to run this if we go over here and let's say node server, and now the server is running. Now it's not something where we have routes and we can go visit it in the browser. The only purpose for this server is to use socket.io. So up here what we'll do is use that IO variable, and we're going to use on. We're going to say IO.on, and it has an event called connection. So when we connect, and let's pass in, put a comma here, and then we're going to say socket, and we're going to use an arrow function. And then in here, let's do console.log, and we'll just notify that a user has connected. Just like that. And then what we want to do is use this socket that we have here and call on.on. So we'll say on disconnect. We'll have a function, and then we'll console.log, and we'll just say user disconnected. Alright, and then we'll have one more event here called add message for when we submit our message from the client. And we'll use an arrow function. Now this is going to have a parameter of message, and then in the future it's going to also have a username, but what I want to do is first take care of just the message part before we work with the username. Alright, so this is going to be an arrow function, and down here we need to then emit back to the client, so io.emit, and we'll call this message, and we're going to pass back an object. It'll have a type of, let's say, new message, and then it'll have text, which will be message, okay, which is coming from here. Alright, so that's going to be it for our server for now. Let's go ahead and save it, and I'm going to stop here now that we have our basic Angular app set up and we have our server set up. Alright, so in the next video we'll start to get into the chat component on the Angular side.